What's up, guys? Shaun Frank here. Welcome to the Rave Cave. This is the very first video that I'm ever shooting in the Rave Cave. And this is a brand new studio I just built in Toronto. And I put out a brand new song on Friday called Bon Appétit. I thought that I would pull up the Ableton session and show you guys how that track came to be. Give you a little, behind the scenes. This is the session right here. 180 tracks. It's crazy, man. I use a lot of tracks, but that's also because I have a really powerful computer, so I'm able to try a bunch of things, leave bits and pieces all over the place, not bounce stuff down. So I'm not saying that my records should be 180. It's just because I'm a very dysfunctional and disorganized person. But I think the records come out okay. So here's the record. It came out Friday.
Sunday.
Sick. My favorite thing is when I do a tutorial and my computer starts like skipping like that. It's the greatest. It's probably because I'm filming and trying to run a track with 180 tracks in it at the same time. But let's dig in. So I want to start with the drums. I think every great house record has really sick drums, and I'm particularly proud of the drums on this record. My goal with this record was to keep it really simple. The vocal that Yale sent me is so dope, and in the demo she just sounded so good, and I just wanted to do the bare minimum, make it a really classy kind of UK style house record, and didn't want to take anything away from the vocal. And part of doing that is creating really like tasteful, tight drums. So I'll play the drum tracks that I have right here. Oh, the dinner bell, you hear that? Yeah, it's a little dinner bell I added in there. I thought it was only appropriate. Bon appetit. And yeah, it's a mix of like a lot of old school drum samples, a lot of old school breaks. I got this guitar break in there you probably heard. It's like part of the drums. It's actually, just take a look here. Yeah, it's like guitars, funky guitars, and I kind of like chopped that up into part of the break, as you can hear here. I tend to do that. I tend to take like a break beat or like a loop, and I just chop out the little bits and pieces that I like, and then I kind of add them all together. As you can see here, there's all these different layers that kind of make up the whole drum part. And I also wanted to mention something cool is I actually, Cashmere reached out to me a couple months ago and asked me to be in the Friends and Family section of his new sample pack, Cashmere Volume 3. And I actually included some of the samples from Bon Appétit in that pack that I gave him. So if you go to the Cashmere Pack and you look in the Friends of Cashmere section, I've got my own little section, Shaun Frank. This loop right here, that's actually the loops from Bon Appétit. So if you want to try the drums out from Bon Appétit in your next track, that's where you can find them. And there's a couple other things. I also that's the Rhodes sound from Bon Appétit, and that's one of the synth sounds from Bon Appétit. So I've included all that in my little guest section on the Cashmere Pack. So go check that out. But let's keep going here. So yeah, pretty standard stuff. Just really took my time and searched for the right drum sounds for this record. Moving on, little fills. This fill is actually also available in the pack. I spent some time. It's really important. The little fill, the pre-drop fill, as they call it in the biz, is really important part of the record of making it drop. Without the fill going in, like it doesn't drop. Like check it out. Just seems empty to me, but you put the fill in, it kind of does it. So finding the right like little fill to go for the drop, it always takes some time. I actually really like the little strings that happen here. That's really a really important part of making it drop. So I got those strings and the little pre-drop fill, and like I said, the fill I think is also available in this Cashmere Pack. I think I gave him the fill as well. Percussion fill? Is this it? No. Oh, that's also, yeah. You know what? A lot of the stuff that I gave Cashmere for this pack is actually from this song, so that's cool. Moving along, I've got my sub here. Nothing special here, just a sub that I've been using a long time that I made in Massive. Doing my sidechaining with Volume Shaper these days. Really enjoying using that plugin. It's very cool. You can make your own curves. You know, get your sidechain exactly the way you want it. But let's get into the fun stuff. Again, bass on this record, really simple sounds. I didn't want to go too crazy with it. It's some like kind of cool garagey sounding layers. The main thing that's making it sound like it does is the mix between this Moog bass. I actually recorded this with my, I have this like, here I'll show you. I have this like Sub 37 over there, up top there. And that bass is from that synth. I really like using an analog bass for the bottom end of my records. I find it sounds really dope to use analog synths, and especially for basses, and especially that Moog is amazing. And then mixed with this, what do we have here? Yeah, especially and mixed with this sample that I found, kind of gives you the, you know, that classic dope deep house bass sound. Yeah. Again, I'm probably sidechaining that with Volume Shaper. And not doing too much processing there at all. Moving on. Little hit on beat one. I've been really fucking with this old Rave generator plugin that my buddy AJ told me about. It's very sick. It's cool for like little stabs. It's got all these like really dope stabs built in. Here, let me show you some. Let's see here. Is it gonna play? Oh, I gotta get this track and record. There's all these like different like, oh, you gotta delete the other ones. Like these classic ravey housey samples. So that's a cool plugin. Little secret there for the kids. What else we got here? Let's dig into the music. Let's dig into the synths. I think the synths are really cool on this record. I have this this Rhodes kind of sets the tone of the record. Just an Omnisphere Rhodes that I found that I really like, and it's going through a cabinet. I use this cabinet to kind of make it sound like it's like small, and it also monos it, just puts it in the center, and kind of gives it that like old radio effect. I wanted to start the record kind of sound like it was coming through like an old radio, right? So like that little Rhodes with the vocal sounding the way it does, and the little vinyl texture, which is somewhere in here, kind of gives you that sound. One of my favorite synths on this record, actually there's two. I really like this one, and I included part of this in that Cashmere Pack as well. It's this nice serum sound. Just using the pitch wheel to give it a little bit of like right there. Boing, yeah. So that's a really cool little sound, and it kind of just sets the stage for the verse, as you can hear here. Cherry Sunday. Let me treat you. And then this another keyboard comes in. Nice synth here. This synth is actually my OB6 synth. It's really nice. Man, I know. It's when I got these analog synths, it really changed the game. I'm using them on pretty much everything. So that's the chords of the song, and my favorite synth in the song is this thing which I'm calling Intro Dre, because it's kind of got that like old, like 90s hip hop California thing. I love that thing, and I have it processed a little differently over here. And I actually made that sound on my newest keyboard. This is the Andromeda A6. by Alesis. They don't make it anymore. You have to buy one used if you can find one. They're a little rare. Lots of knobs. Know what about 75% of them do. It's my favorite keyboard to play with these days. It is fire. And that's where I found that very simple sound, but it just, I don't know, I was just jamming along, and that sound, popping through the presets on the keyboard, and that one jumped out at me. Really happy. That was one of those like final details that kind of got added at the end of the record that really like brought the whole thing together. For me, vocals are always the most important part of the record. What jumped out at me when I was sent this record was just how cool her voice sounded. So I just want to show you what went into the vocal processing on this record. And one of my favorite things is just when you hit play on this record, you hear this. Sorry. When you hit play on this record, it's just so cool sound. It just sounds so classic. And so many people have been asking me, I've been getting a lot of messages, where did you get the sample, the vocal sample for Bon Appétit? But it's not a sample. It's a song that Yale wrote. And by just putting a little bandpass filtering, this is called bandpass filtering, where you basically cut the high and you cut the low, and I find like a bump, depending on the vocalist or the sound, a little bump and resonance right here, you can see, at about 4K, gives you that sort of like old speaker sound, with a combination of using the cabinet as well. So if you turn off these two things, her voice just sounds kind of normal. But you put the bandpass on, and then the cabinet, and all of a sudden, sounds like 1950s. So that's really nice. The other thing is obviously the regular vocals. Well, there's all my plugins. I can run you through this quick for the producers out there. My vocal chain on this record. Cherry Sunday. I usually start all my vocal chains, like for lead vocals, with RVox. This plugin rules for vocals. Just a little compression there, but it's just like cherry. Actually, I'm not doing very much on this one, but it just really, really balances the vocal. Going into the rest of your processing, I find it's a really, really valuable plugin for vocals. Just don't do it too much because it can really fuck the vocal up. Another trick that I'm using these days, I love this new Distressor UAD plugin. I actually have the Real Thing, and I record a lot of my vocals through it. You get the Real Thing right here. But one of the things that the Real Thing doesn't have is this mix knob, which is huge. If you've ever heard anyone talk about parallel compression, this Distressor plugin allows you to do it within the plugin without like routing things differently. So as you can see, I have it pretty compressed. Cherry Sunday. Like, this is a lot of compression. Like, it's too much compression, you know? But then it allows you to mix in just the compressed signal. So this is, if you turn it all the way up, you can hear how it sounds just if it was going through the compressor fully. Cherry Sunday. It's like nasty. But it's nice if you just mix in a little bit. Without, Sunday. You just bring it in. Let me treat. Just kind of like balances the low mids of the vocal and just parks it. Really good technique, parallel compression, and this plugin kind of does it all in one. Great plugin. Got my 1176 on there. This is a very standard setting that I use. I'm probably not compressing that much with this one. Yeah, about 3 dB gain reduction at 8. That's like pretty standard for what I do. I've got a bit of side chaining on this vocal. I've been doing that lately. I find it helps the whole record groove, and it helps you make the record louder. So I've been doing that. A little saturation with Decapitator by Sound Toys. Love this plugin. Just a little bit of saturation. Probably not doing a whole lot. Cherry Sunday. Yeah, it's just kind of giving a little bit of saturation. This is a plugin I don't hardly ever use. I'm actually surprised it's on here. I must have just thrown it on there and liked what it did right away. Yeah, a little reverb and delay. I usually don't put reverb and delay actually on the vocal channel, but I did a lot of different stuff on this record. I usually do all of my processing down here. You'll see I've got all these different returns that are sending different delays and stuff, and so some of that stuff. Sunday. So you can see right there. See how that happens? I just throw the delay. Oh, hold on. I throw the delay this way. So I just automate, something like this. It just goes up, and that sends down here. So I'll get like a reverb throw. Sunday. You see how the reverb carries, and that's so because I just want to reverb that one word. So I do it with returns. I do all 90% of my vocal effects, reverbs and delays, with returns. So that's the vocals. I wanted every section of the song to kind of have its own unique flavor. So when I went to the pre-chorus, I decided to actually mess around with her voice a little bit. You can hear in the pre-chorus. And that's sort of like deep house kind of like sound of her voice, where she sounds kind of like a man, is done with formanting the vocal. And I use Little Ultra Boy for that. It's by Sound Toys. You just take the formant down. If it was up, she would sound normal. You hear this? We should try and see if you can. But I kind of thought it sounded cool, like. We should try and see if you can vibe with me. Got your body on my mind, and one of the other things I did on this record, which was I wanted, I wanted to make this section special, and it was just like a little detail was I got these little French vocals in here. Let's see. I actually called Delaney and I said, can you say some, like, can you record, she was in LA, I was in Toronto, and I called her and I asked her if she could record some, like, sexy French vocals. And so she sent me back this. Viens avec moi. And it made it into the record. And I just smashed this with compression. And again, you can see right here, that same thing, just kind of like making it sound old, cutting off the highs and lows, giving it a little bump at about 4K, gives it that sort of radio effect. Viens avec moi. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up.
Viens avec moi. Bon appétit. Bon appétit. Oh, you got me dreaming. Oh, you make me wanna sing.
So that's Bon Appetit. That's how it was made. Made right here in the Rave Cave with your boy Shaun Frank. So yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by to check out this behind the scenes on my song Bon Appetit. It's available everywhere right now, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you consume music, you can get this song. Add it to your playlist, share it with your friends, send me videos of you listening to it in the car, send me your dancing videos. And text me, 323-250-8451. That's my number. I would love to chat with you guys further. If you guys have any suggestions for future videos, any other songs you guys want me to open up on the computer and show you different parts of, make sure you send me a text, 323-250-8451. We can chat. Peace out. Love you guys so much. Thanks for coming by.